Okay. Good evening, colleagues. I hope you guys had a good day. We have Dr. Ellen in the space. I would just like to give him a moment to introduce himself and what he does and the type of impact that he has on poultry or the production of feed in poultry. Hi, Dr. Ellen.
Hello, Amanda. Hello, everyone. My name is Ellen Husseini. For those who do not know me, originally I'm from the Congo DRC. I've been here for almost 17 years. Completed my first degree back home. Did my master's in Stellenbosch, my PhD in Stellenbosch. Worked for government for almost 1 year, and then I joined a feed additives company based in Midland. And on my profession, I look after um, uh, client in Southern Africa, excluding SA. So and I've been doing this for 3 years. So the major bulk of the feed additives that we put in the market goes to poultry. So uh, I may say I have enough experience to be humble in a humble way. Amanda, over to you.
Yes. No, you have a lot of experience. Based on what um we spoke about last week, there was a lot that we needed from you, hence we decided on having episode 2. So I think we will start with what was the last question, whereby people wanted to understand the difference in feed for parent stock chickens. So they wanted to know what is the difference when you want to feed parent stock and oh, I didn't even see my co-host. He has he has a new AB. Um and 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 between feeding broilers, layers, and parent stock, what was the difference, or what is the difference in terms of the feeding schedule and the type of minerals that are added in the feed? So if you can just give us a quick lesson on that, I think that's where we can build from.
Okay. Based first on the functionality of layers, brawlers, they are completely different. For brawler, a brawler is like a how can I put it? A brawler is like a sprinter, you know, and a layer is like a marathon runner, you know. So with a sprinter, we have like let's say with a brawler, we have normally in a fairly context we can have three phases: a starter, grower, and finisher. For more specialized and knowledgeable for a most specialized and knowledgeable farmer, we can go to a pre-starter, starter, grower, finisher, and post-finisher, because each stage of growth has its own requirement. So we need first to decide to define what breed are we using. For instance, is it a cob? Is it a Ross? Too. Each um, breed has its own requirement, and for that, I will advise you to kind of let's say go in Google, check the requirements of Ross, check the requirement of the nutritional requirement of a cob, and then you compare the two. You can see that there is some small differences, you know. So based on those differences, the ration need to be formulated based on those small differences that we have. Now, going back to the layer, a layer, as I said, it's a marathon runner. So the growth, you know, a marathon I'm not doing marathon. My boss does it, but you are going slowly. So the growth must be slow, not slow per se, moderate, in such a way that the bird can develop, correctly, in the first phases, for instance, let's say for the first 2 weeks, we have a immune system, the tube digestive, the skeleton, the feather, which are busy developing, and going on, we have a growth which can allow um, a maturity, a sexual maturity, and then after that, after sexual maturity, then the bird can be in production. So to reach a sexual maturity, it need time, because first you must start with a skeleton, and then you move to, let's say, the body, then once you grow in, once the bird grow enough, then it's going the stimulation of the sexual maturity is going to kick in, and then once it kick in, and then the bird will be able to lay eggs, and therefore each stage has its own requirement. So a starter Russian for layer, although it look like a scramble uh, uh, by vision, but it has its own requirement. And then you go to a mash grower, and then after that you have a pre-layer diet, and then you have a layer diet, and based to that you can also play a little bit with the light, because the sexual stimulation is with bird is linked to the light, so the light must be a little bit longer compared to the dark. So if you follow this process, you are more likely to have some very robust bird, which will produce more eggs. And when you check the curve will tend not to go down, because the bird has been grown um, in a moderate way. So the difference is there. Um, I have in front of me a requirement for uh, the Ross, yeah, parent stock, and as I can see here, I have a starter grower, um, layer breeder one, layer breeder two, layer breeder three. So it depends from how professional you are, you know, to kind of like define each stage of nutrition, and each stage of nutrition comes with its own type of diet. Amanda?
Yes, yes, I'm listening, Doc. Okay, so we're still here.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that can I go straight to the parent stock?
The Ross parent stock. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. We need to differentiate first the stage. We have the starter, we have the grower, we have the um, pre-layer, or the point of lay, and then we have the layer. So in the laying stage also, we can also put the first part of laying, mid part, and later part, because in the later part the egg um, production is decreasing. Therefore, we'll need also to adjust the two together. One thing that we need also to put in evidence is the frequency of feeding. Are you feeding, and each? Let me put it this way: each type of feeding has its own um, advantage of or inconvenient. Let's say if you have an ad libitum feeding. Ad libitum feeding means that there is a feed at liberty. So anytime that the bird want to eat, they eat. And then you have a kind of like ration type of nutrition, whereby you feed them in the morning, you feed them at noon, you feed them in the afternoon. So you can see, let's say, three way of feeding. It means that if it's a manual, it it's a little bit challenging compared to a straight feeding. With a straight feeding, we can have a situation whereby the bird are gaining weight a little bit um, more than a moderate weight that we want, because they are consuming a lot. Um, and when birds are overweight, they tend to have a lot of fat, and then you have a case whereby your eggs are getting broken. One thing that I need also to put in evidence is, because you are talking about parent stock, for the first 22 weeks, before, until the sexual maturity, the male and the female need to be farmed separately. You know, we put them in the separate houses, and then we will put them together only when the layer have reached a certain um, sexual maturity, and then we mix them together. In a normal context, you need also to put the male feeder a little bit higher, because the males are taller, so they can have their own specific ration. And then the female, you put it a little bit, the feeder must be a little bit down, but the hole where the bird is putting, the beak inside the feeder must be a little bit smaller, because the head of the female is small, and the male won't be able to kind of like get that food. So you separate the two together, and then um, um, the ratio, it depends. Sometimes it can be around, if I'm correct, one one male to 10 females, also to avoid the fighting between male. The male will waste time into um, fighting each other, and instead of doing the job that they were designed to do. So one issue with the male is that over time they tend to lose the the virility, meaning that you'll have to have some backup males to which are going to be introduced to kind of like balance the loss of fertility that the older male are having. So that also need to be taken in consideration. So let me see what I can also. Okay. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. Okay. So those are a few things that we need to lay down. One of the things that I need also to put down is biosecurity. Biosecurity is one of the things smallholders are failing to maintain. So you need to have your biosecurity so high. I've seen in Twitter people inviting friend into the farm, taking photos with the bird. Please, guys, do not allow to do not do that, because if I visit a farmer today, I'd need at least a week, for me to visit another one. By a week, I mean I need to bath.
You can just continue from where you left off.
Okay, let me go a little bit, just a little bit back. Um, Few things that we need to remember with breeders. Breeders and layers nutrition are all very close together. At the difference that with breeders, we need to bring males to kind of like fertilize the egg. With layers, we need just to once they reach the sexual maturity, they start making eggs, and then those eggs are not fertile, and so that they can go to the market. So from week 1 to 6, what we need to remember in this element, um, uh, together with biosecurity, as I was saying, there is people who are bringing, friends into the farmhouse, taking pictures. So if you visit one farm, you need to visit another farm at least within in 7 days. By that I mean you need to be able to bath at least 7 times, change the clothes 7 times, meaning that if you pick up some germs in farm A, you cannot be able to transfer it in farm B. That's why when you visit a farm, sometimes it's a requirement for you to bath. You get new clothes, you get new boot, and then you're allowed to go inside. So the first 2 weeks you must start with a bang. By a bang, we need that the feed intake is a key. Is a key. You need to have a pre-starter diet which has a higher density energy, and then it's okay to consider having a crumbles, so that it can allow your bird to have enough um, uh, to improve the intake. So this scenario is essential to develop a good intestinal tract, to develop a immune system, the skin, and the feather. So uh, the next point we need to consider is for week 7 to 12. Here, the target is a good body weight here. So during this period, it's where the skeleton is busy at developing. I'm sure you have seen a special on TV for people who do not like us, they want always to portray agriculture in a very a bad way, whereby heavy bird who cannot even walk, and those kind of picture are busy destroying our industry. So it means that the muscle, because you are feeding wrongly your bird, you are the muscle is busy developing faster than the skeleton. So by 3 weeks, the bird cannot even walk. The bird can just stand up and few steps down. So because the skeleton is not well developed. And then we need also to during this period, because the skeleton is busy developing well. One of the things with layers and breeders is um, a part of the calcium actually will come from the bones. So if your bones are not well prepared for that trauma of subtracting the calcium, from the bone, you'll have problems into your eggshells, into your egg quality, and so on. So this period we must promote a good growth. You must balance well your calcium and phosphorus, so that the skeleton can really grow up very nice. Then we move to the next point, which is from week 13 to 18. There we are talking about the pullet, which is busy developing, developing the sexual maturity, so that in the next few weeks, they can be able uh, to start laying eggs. So the target body weight here, we must at least have 90. If you consider the whole herd, in terms of size, we must reach at least a target of 95%, and in terms of, let's say, maturity, a maturity of 75%. So meaning that when you are feeding your chicken, you must try your best to keep them homogeneous. In some herd, you'll find that some birds are heavy, some birds are. Uh, let me give you an example in broiler. At 35 days to 42 days, you find like some bird, are weighing 2.6, some other, are weighing, let's say, 1.2. Meaning that it's not homogeneous. We need to have at least 80% of bird. If the average is let's say 2.2, yeah, many of them must be there. So if you have a herd where like some are heavy, some are so light, then you'll have a big production issue here. Um, so once you have during this period, one thing I need to specify is that during this period, the the inside of the bone, you know, the inside of the bone is busy developing, because that's where in French they call it moelle épinière. The inside of the bone, when you break the bone, you see there is some don't know how you call it in English, but there is some
It's bone
yes,
marrow, I
bone
think.
marrow, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to develop that one, um, so that you can ensure that the bones are strong, and if your bird will be in cage, you know, then they won't be having that cage fatigue, because they are very strong. Um, so during all this period from starter up to this age, many farmers, will just have one house, where they are farming all those bird, to let's say the female in one camp and the male in another house, you know, and for layers, this bird who are were housed will be put now in the cages. One of the reason is because we want to have clean eggs, and then we want also to control the production, and so on. But the trend of which is coming out with cages is that um, cages are creating a lot of physical stress on the bird. So many people, in terms of welfare, tend to not put the bird in the cage. So they because they prefer the bird to behave like a bird, to swing when they want to swing, to jump, and so on. And in terms of even a production, you get good eggs when your chicken are not in a cage. So yeah, so hopefully in the future, um we'll get a cage free industry. So then around 18 weeks, we are very close to the laying point, meaning that during this period, bird have developed sexually, and for breeders, it's where you tend to now mix the two group together, male and female together, and because of they are we are busy preparing to laying. we need to increase the calcium, content in the diet. So that's why they talk about the pre-layer diet, which is completely different to the um, pullet grower diet. So once again, we need to have a herd which is uniform. If not uniform, we are in trouble. If we have heavy bird, we are in trouble. If we have light bird, we are in trouble. So basically, what we need to do here is to check the standard of the bird. If let's say the requirement is let's say 1.6, 1.5 at that age, let be there plus minus 50 grams, to avoid trouble. Yes. So uh, then we'll have a nice target. Uh, then once mixed together, the activity start. Uh, bird can lay a bird um, without having a male around. So in some cases, you will find some eggs which are not fertilized because it's the beginning of the laying. Uh, um, but we need also to ensure that we have a very good ratio between male and female. Do not have a lot of males. Do not also have less. If you have less, the males will overwork, and they will show a case of infertility going forward, because of over time anyway. With males, you need to kind of like bring in some youngsters to kind of like pick up the fertility. Yeah. So once that, in average, we will have something like 4.5 eggs per week. So with 4.5 per week, depending on your incubator size, one can, let's say you have an incubator of, let's say 2000, then 2000 divided by, let's say 4.5. Let me just do the calculation here. um, uh, 0.5. Yeah. So with an incubator of 2000, you'll need around somewhere like 400 bird to kind of like make your incubator full per week. So meaning that you need to have something like 3 incubators for you to be able to produce at least to place in your incubator 2000 eggs, and then in that egg, before you put them in the incubator, you need to have a scanner. You can have a manual scanner where like you scan each and every egg to see if it's fertile. To know that it's fertile, you'll have to check. You need to have a dark spot into the egg, and then you read it today. You can read it again in the next few days, just to be sure that the eggs are fertile, and then from there you can be able to place it in the incubator. So hygiene is very crucial, because the egg by themselves, they can be a source of contamination, meaning that the chicks that you'll be producing will have a quality issue. And the quality issue of bird, normally you can see it in the weight that you are getting. I think the live weight one. Secondly, you can see by the mortality within 7 days. 7 days high mortality, and then sometimes you won't achieve your weight at 7 days compared to the requirement. Then you know that there's a problem somewhere. So depending on the breed that you are using. Let's say if you are using dual purposes parent stock, they are different of, let's say, of the ross, they are different of the cob. So the dual one might be a little bit resistant because they are they are not that improved compared to the ross and the cob, but hygiene is always the key. The second thing with breeding is your vaccination. So some incubators, some hatcheries, once they have the chick, they need actually to vaccinate. Let's say before the bird can the day old chick can go out. So you need to vaccinate. And on the plan of vaccination, please do consult a vet, which is going to give you a plan of vaccination, and then based also on the few diseases that you have around, the availability of a vaccine, and then you can apply. I'm not an expert on vaccination, but I know few companies which can assist in terms of vaccine. And in terms of vaccine, please go deal directly with those companies, because with vaccine you need to keep them in the cold chain. If you do not do that, then you are just applying water. So that also need to be taken in consideration. So once you have your chick, you can be able to sell them on the market. One thing I need also to say in South Africa is like this country is full of regulations. For instance, um, as far as I know, if you want to make, let's say, your own feed, you make your own feed, you give it to your chick in the farm, and then it handed. If, let's say, you want to resell, then you must take a sample, you send it to the Department of Agriculture. They will evaluate it according to the standard. One of the standards is just to have the protein level based on the guideline. That, I think that one is a very old guideline of 1943. Then you'll get a V number to say, what, this product is yours, and then you can be able to put it on the market. If you check many product on the market, they do have a V number, a V, and some numbers next to it. It means that the product has been evaluated by the Department of Agriculture, certified, and then you can be able to. Without that, you are not allowed to sell it. I think it goes back again to the product that you want to put on the market. If not certified by a state vet, then you are not allowed to kind of like sell it by law. That's why you need and few people were talking about this last time. You need to kind of like send your bird to the vet. I mean to the slaughter, to the registered slaughterhouse. So that once the product comes out, at least it comes out with that stamp. Sometimes being an African, I feel like it's a money making scheme. Sometimes being a scientist is to it's there to promote, a product of good quality on the market. So sometimes I do have mixed feeling, but unfortunately this is how the country is. So yeah, so that's basically the short story that I have. um, Please do check the different requirement on on a different breed that are on the market. They are completely different. If you consider the fast growing bird like the cross and the cob, if you compare the layers, they are different. If you compare the with some other let's say dual dual purposes, but they are completely different. So that basically the case. So Amanda, if there is any questions, any clarity, please shoot, and I'll be able to answer.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. I did miss some parts of your presentation because my network went
Mhm.
crazy. But I don't know. There's something that I wanted to ask. I don't know if you've answered it already, but I wanted to know, is the feed for raising parent stock accessible at a normal feed store?
Yes and no. Yes, in a sense that if you request it, you can get it. It might comes with a price. And no, it because the industry is controlled by a few big houses, and then they want to have the monopoly of controlling, the whole industry chain. There's one thing which came to my mind um, after our first meeting is if we can talk about the industry and the industry as a whole, because one, if we can talk about the regulations. Two, we can talk about the players, and by the players, we want to talk fairly and openly how they play, because um, in in one of my country that I look after, because of the shortage of the old chicks, so it was not open, but what they did was you will never get, if you don't buy our chick, you don't you if you don't buy our food, you don't get our chick type of policy. Not on a paper, but it was like that. So we need to understand the market that we are busy playing in, because the market is especially the integrators. They control. They own the grandparent stock to the parent stock to the old chicks to the feed, you know, to the processing, to the market, so it's a long chain that they own, so they don't want somebody to come and come in between there and kind of like play with them. But what I must also say, the industry is also big in such a way that there is always a level where these big guys can also go, because they don't want to deal with very small customers, and those small customers, by themselves, represent also a market, to go to. So the space is always it's always there, but we need maybe to talk about this kind of like structure to understand, where we can easily make money. Over to you, Amanda.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. Nothing but the truth in what you said. Because I think more than anything, we don't even know how the feed is actually supposed to be like. Um, so that's where now the market is being limited. You spoke about grandparent stock, and that was actually going to be my next question. I know that we can't get grandparent stock in South Africa. So I just wanted to find out if you knew how we can get grandparent stock, and is it raised the same way as parent stock is raised?
um Grandparent stock. Okay, let me first start by, you have the big genetic companies, the type of Cobb, Avigen, the two that I know of. And recently I've been introduced to another one called, I think, HN or something. I think I need to check the name again, but it basically a dual purposes breeding company. And if you check them in South Africa, they are kind of like small. So in the past, let's say 20 years ago, we wanted, birds were growing fast, so that, you can put them in the market so fast. Now in Europe, there is a tendency of now having, bird which are behaving like bird. That's why you see this type of like dual purposes breed. You have some slow growing um, breed. For them, sometimes it's an issue of welfare. When you have enough, then you start thinking about the nitty gritty of you want your chicken to be happy, and so that trend, unfortunately, is it coming in. So the big genetic companies owns, the whole line, and then they're able to provide the grandparent stock to whoever they want. Now the parent stock companies, sometimes it can be an integrator, or it can be um, a distributor. Now they can distribute those parent stock, and then they also choose to distribute it the way they feel, because there is a lot of money, unfortunately, in this business. So they want you at least to have, the day old chicks, like say broiler. You uh, farm them. After 42 days they are finished, you need to go back again to them to buy, and so on. And it was again in the I mean, in the plant industry, whereby, if let's say you buy a variety of oranges, you have to sign contracts. Although you are buying the trees, they are yours, but you need to acknowledge that, the genetic material that you are buying, is still our property. So in whatever cells that you'll be doing, a certain portion into your cell, will come to us. So it must be written in paper, so that, whatever you are selling, you need to pay like a license to a genetic company. So those tendencies, unfortunately, they are also coming into the animal sector, whereby many will prefer to kind of like uh, sell or distribute the old chicks or the layer, because they know that, that is actually the end of the line. If you cross them, actually you are going to mess it up. You are going to create a type of incest, to put it that way, and your result will be so bad. So you won't even try. So you only farm your bird, and after 32 days, you slaughter them, or you sell them, you go back again, you buy the again. Same with layers. You finish your cycle, you feel like, I cannot get much of this bird, then you go back, you need some new one. If you are connected, to be honest, we can get them, but um, even the parent stock here can be a little bit politicized. Yeah, so that's my comment, Amanda.
Yeah, there's too many challenges. Thanks, Doc. By Black has a couple of questions. I don't know if he's back on. Hey, Abuti.
Hi, how's Amanda? I'm back. I hope I'm
Yes,
audible.
yes, you are.
Okay. All right, fine. I'm just gonna ask a few quick questions just in case the network does its thing again. Greetings to everyone and greetings, Udokotela. So if you've already answered some of these questions, you can just pass them by for the sake of time. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people attend this space is because they want to start producing their own feed in the long run, seeing that feed is like the highest cost as far as broiler production is concerned, I'm not that much into layers. So I have a few questions. The first question I'd like to ask is, what is the replacement for fish meal that is accessible in South Africa? Because I've been looking around for the ingredients and I struggle to get fish meal. And then the other question will be, what are the legal institutions that are mandated that one has to be registered with before they start selling their feed? And then the second last question will be, can one start producing feed and selling it without registering with such bodies, or can you only produce it for yourself? And I mean, obviously, is there any legal implications as far as that is concerned? The next question will be, look, I will ask these questions one by one if you'd like me to, but just in case the network goes. And the next question will be, what advice can you give to farmers who insist on using pig feed for their chicken feed? Because there is this trend of that I see on social media where people, when their chickens are struggling to grow, there's a recommendation that says use pig feed. I've never been in favor of it, and I don't know the reason why and what ingredient is in there that speeds up the growth of the chicken as they believe it to be. I will reserve the last question for later. Thank you very much.
Uh, okay. Fish feed.
Oh, sorry, that was actually fish meal, not
Yeah.
fish feed.
Okay. On the fish meal, mm, this is a very tricky one in a sense that how many people are okay. I know a gentleman who's kind of like importing fish meal. I must say there isn't enough in South Africa. The bulk is coming from Namibia, and South Africa is importing sometimes from EU and from other places y- where the fish market is thriving. So once it comes, it mostly used in things like dog food, cat food, and so on. So I do have some customer who are using a little bit of fish meal. It has some good quality amino acid. However, due to our climate is very prone to decomposition, so it might actually create more trouble than good in the diet. So for me, I will tend to stay away from this product because it it's too risky. It's too risky compared to soya. So by nature, fish meal provide amino acid and also a molecule called creatine. So we do have a product which can replace feed meal um, fully, and the product called guanamino or cleamino, which is also being sold by an opposition company. So so fish meal for me in Africa, in most cases, is not well processed. Most of it rotten, and for me is not good. So to replace it, you need to go back still to soya, and then you can also add some supplement amino acid just to balance your diet. So on the feed, when it comes to the feed, the institution that regulate the feed quality is mostly DAF. You need to apply, and and then a permit will be issued to you, and that permit is a V certificate that you'll get. So if you do make your own feed and then you tend to sell it, um, to somebody else, you might end up one day in trouble. When I don't know, because you are not registered, so you are not compliant with the state. Um, what other question did you ask?
Okay, thank you very much for answering the first two. I'm still here. So the next question was, what advice can you give to farmers who insist on using pig feed for their chickens? And what ingredient is there, if any, in pig feed that is accelerating the growth? Because this is usually recommended when a farmer is struggling with growth of the chickens. Thank you.
Okay, this is something that I'll never advise, because the requirement of um, let's say of pig and bird are completely are different. You need just to Google the two, and you can see that it completely different. Um, One thing that people tend to do is they tend to put, let's say, some growth hormone to kind of like allow a high deposition of muscle. Also, that also in the long run, ethically can is not fairly sound. Some people do it. Some people prefer just to allow a normal growth. But in terms of swapping the two, I will never advise. I will never advise. It's just a perception. You see, uh, this is just a typical perception. There is nothing fundamental to justify giving a chicken a pig feed. It does not make no sense at all. Not advisable.
Thank you. Amanda, can I have a last question?
Yes, go on, Abuti.
Okay, so here's the situation. There's a lot of small scale farmers who wants to start producing their own feed right now.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm looking at possible solutions as to what can we do. We've identified macro ingredients, and
mm-hmm,
we've also identified micro ingredients. So my plan was,
mm-hmm,
we get one farmer who's going to plant soy,
mm-hmm,
and then we get another one who's going to plant sunflower. The other one is going to do maize, and the other one is going to do wheat. Now, when we have these macro ingredients, who
mm-hmm.
do we need to call to come and give us the micro ingredients so that we can do something that is legal and acceptable? Because ultimately, we are not going to stand and say, okay, this is difficult, it can't be done, and stand by and not do it. We want to go forward, and we want to be able to can advise a layman like myself that, look, you can mix this and mix that and do it, and then this is the process you need to follow as far as legalization of this, and then so that a farmer can start tomorrow. Because when you're talking to farmers, you're talking to practical people who want to start doing this thing as quickly as possible. So we want to work towards that. So the question would generally be, what steps must one follow in order to be able to have this in a legal way and start producing feed that I can be able to share with my friends as well?
Okay, I'm happy to hear that you guys already have a source of uh, raw materials such as maize and soya and so on, so which is already good. And on the other side, there's a few players on the market who can supply um, uh, the macro pack. As I said last time, a macro pack, it contain the premix. The premix, you find the trace mineral, the the vitamins. You find also, you can get, let's say, some phytase, you can get some enzymes, you can get a few things. So, and also the not the limestone, the MCP or the DCP. So you find it as one block, and then one bag, one bag can, you can mix one bag in a ton of feed, and then the rest is maize, soya. based on the formula that you can be given. So I know few companies. If you go that route, that I can refer you to, so that you can buy directly from them. One company is Pro Nutrition. You can buy 2 bags. You can buy 3 bags based on how deep is your pocket. You buy and then you go and all mix. So that already affect the problem. My biggest issue, what I've noticed is I think many people do not do their homework so well, you know, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. Recently, also I started importing stuff, so I'm also learning as I go. Uh, it's You need to kind of like compare. You need to understand few things. I'm not a clearing agent. So I don't know if my clearing agent is fooling me. I don't know yet, but I'm trying. So you things can be done. And let me be honest with you, making feed is not a rocket science. If you do not know, try to consult somebody who's of the field. Is going to advise you. If you do have maize, if you do have soya, what need to be done, and then you can have a diet which can be cheap. I'm not going to guarantee that you are going to achieve 100% to 110% of what you can achieve with some, let's say, best uh, diet in the market, which come with a price. But at least you do 90%, 95%. And when you compare the price, you can still both make it. You can still both make it. So, so um, I know, let's say I know few people who can assist, but if you kind of like um, if you need to be assisted with me, what I need the raw material price. I need the raw material list that you have. The best way is to analyze every raw material that you have so that we can define the metrics. If not, we can still use some reference data on the composition of the material that we have. We can formulate, and then to be sure and to confirm the performance, you can test it, into your farm, and then from there you can make up your decision. So uh, you see, all these things depend on the structure of the market that we are in. The same companies who will avoid to sell you the macro pack in South Africa. They are selling the product in Zambia. You know, it seems like there is a cartel. In South Africa, whereby uh, you can only sell finished product to the market, and the rest of the product, you can sell it out. When you go to Zambia, for instance, although you find big players in the market, but the market is flooded with all mixers. People do mix, they feed manually or with a small mixer. They do feed, and there is no shame in that. They do feed, mix, and then they feed. They get the bird. They sell them on the market with no big issue. But in South Africa, I think pe- people are comfortable. When you have a farmer who's driving a bakkie, what can you expect? Come buy my feed. So I think it's also the mentality and the way the market is structured. But I am 100%, positive that we can get the macro pack. We can formulate our diet, and then we can give it to our layer, our bird, our broilers, and then life goes on.
Are you covered, Abuti?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I should give others a chance. I have a lot of questions because I've been doing research on feed production for over 3 years, and I actually started buying some equipment. As you know, I already have a pelleter, and I have your hammer mill, and what's the other one, and a blender as well. So I did research, and I called a few companies in South Africa to find micro ingredients, and I can actually confirm that some of these companies are selling micro ingredients to Kenya, and they are not selling them in South Africa. So I actually had to talk to a guy in Kenya while looking for broiler premix, so he can send it to me, and he said, but I got it from South Africa. So what you're talking about, Dokotela, is real, but we will get over that. There's also other means of using our white friends to make these calls on our behalf. Let's give others a chance, Osnoma, so they can ask questions, and then I will post my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I knew that when you were unable to access the space that you might be so frustrated. I'm so glad that you could come back. Um Induna, you've requested quite some time back. This is your moment, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Am I audible? Can you guys hear me? The network is shaking.
100%.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Good evening, guys. Good evening. Table Shaker, Norma, and By Black. Doc, once again, thank you for creating this space. So, Doc, I just want to ask, rather than going into the nitty gritty stuff here, like what my brother By Black did, I want to know if a person is trying to set up his own business, right? So, such as the feed making business, because, like By Black said, we also have a monopoly here. There's one company that makes broiler and chicken feed for the entire country. And if you are not within the vicinity of that place, you struggle in terms of having to import it from, let's say, what example can I give, from Gauteng to Cape Town? Maybe that's a just to give you guys a bit context, so you guys just understand. So there's the distance, and when the feed reaches Cape Town, it's so expensive. So now, ourselves who are probably farming, who are doing horticulture, what type of crops could we plant so we could have the mindset to say maybe in the near future or a year from now, so we can start producing our own feeds that would be readily available for chickens. Like last time when we were in the same group, you said maize you can, but you can't just be giving maize. You need to give other things to the feed. So I just love to know what type of crops should I go tell my relatives and my fellow small scale farmers, what can they start planting so we can eventually one day to start producing feeds, is what By Black said. Thank you very much.
Okay, one is maize, second is soya. Maize because it provide energy. If you have millet, sorghum, I mean the cereal group, provide energy. That one. Then you have on the protein side, you have soya. As I said, soya need to be processed because of the anti nutritional factor that it has. It need to be processed. It need to be eaten up a little bit. And you have the sunflower. You have the peanut. You have the rapeseed. And the rest are just the macro pack. As I said, premix and limestone, clay. Let me give you an example. Um, when I don't know where people are based in this group, but I know as African, you'll find some clay. That sometimes ladies are putting on their face, or sometimes when they are pregnant they tend to have a piece to like to suck it, you know and when you last time I was in Pretoria, Sunnyside, I saw some ladies are selling them. uh, there is a company which import some clay from Zimbabwe, some from Mozambique, and then they bring it here, they mix it up. I don't know the proportion. They mix it up, and then they use it as a mycotoxin binders, and then they sell you well packaged, looking nice, as a final product. So there's few things that which are ready available that we can use. Maybe we need just to crush it, you know, the type of limestone, grit, you know. Those are It's not a rocket science, you know. One can you can find it in many countries, and use it. Or sometimes it's the seashell that can be used as a source of calcium and so on. So um, but the most basic one are maize, the cereal, and the protein range where you find the soy and so on. So if you can plant those one, at least you have an average of saying, you know what, I can start making my own feed. So next to that, you need some few equipment, you know, like a hammer mill, like a mixer. A mixer, it because you need to have a higher homogeneous diet. So you just to avoid that type of let's say in the mixture, you have one corner which has, let's say, more salt than the other one. So you want the mixer the mixing uh, to be one, so that you can have, you know, the result, you know, can also be good in terms of homogeneity. So I hope that helps.
All right, thanks, Doc. Quick question, just on the mixing before I pass on the mic on the mixing. I know in my kettle when I'm mixing concentrate and salt, we go 50 on
Mhm.
50. Is it the same ratio with chickens, or it's a bit lower or higher? So if you could just enlighten me on that one, please.
No, what first do you have in your concentrate? Do you have soya in it, or what do you have in it? What is the composition of your concentrate?
On the chicken, I wouldn't know, but on the livestock, I'm just saying, like when I'm mixing for cattle, I go 50
Mm-hmm.
on 50 bag of salt and concentrate. So now when I'm doing the premix, as you said, for the chicken
Mm-hmm.
feed, what ratio do I follow? What's the formula here? That's what I want to know.
Okay. When you talk about concentrate in poultry, you know, you have a mixture of premix. So it's a macro pack plus a soya plus protein on top of it. Then you can mix it half, you know, 50 or 40, uh, 40 concentrate, 60 maize. That's how it mostly it goes. But in a ruminant, I think we are talking about another story.
Now, thanks.
Yeah.
Table shaker, back to you.
Thanks, Nduna. Speaking of protein, last week we spoke about how masonja can be used as the protein agent in the production of feed. There's someone that sent me a DM that is farming black soldier flies, and they're saying that they can be used as a protein agent as well. I just wanted Doc to speak on that. If you know anything about black soldier flies being used as a protein agent, or can it be used as a protein agent in the production of feed? And once you've answered that question, Milton, you can take the mic immediately after the doc.
Um, I think I had an interaction with that gentleman last week, if I'm correct. Um, Black flies can be used as a source of protein. Uh, you know, let me be honest. There is no um, raw material which can give you 100% of what you want. Even maize, even soya, you always have, you know, maybe 5% of drama that it can create. You know, black flies can easily you can replace, it can be a good source of protein, you know. And one of the things, you know, it's fresh, you know, it as soon as you produce it, you process it, and you know it is still fresh compared to the fish meal which must come, you know, from uh, let's say from Namibia. You put it on the truck, and then it leaves South Africa, and then it goes to Bumalanga, you know. So and it just change it. So And I also told him that there is some good article which came from Stellenbosch University on black flies. It compete well, but the problem is the availability, and how efficient to produce it, to make it competitive. That is the only problem, but it can do the job very well. Thank you.
Milton?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I once saw this other mixer trending on TikTok. I don't know whether anyone knows about it. It's been trending since last year, November. Anyone knows about this mixer?
Yeah. What about it, Milton?
Yes,
Is
I
it the
was
one with
looking
the
for
egg?
it. Yes, I was looking for its name since we're talking about the feed production. It was gonna help one or two about
Milton,
mixing the feeds.
I think the mixer produces pellets. If that's what he's talking about. I've only seen one. I'm not on TikTok, but I saw it somewhere. Um, is it the pellet mixer, Milton?
Yes, it's the pellet mixer.
Okay.
okay. Um, as far as I know, um, and based on the engineering that I know and the few feed mill that I've visited, a mixer, a mixer stand by itself, and then the pelleting machine stand by itself. So once the mixture is completed, then the bucket elevator or a conveyor will take the mixture and throw it in the pelleting machine, and then the pelleting machine, which has a mold and a roller, will compress the feed inside the mold, and then on the other side the pellet are coming out. So I'm sorry, I'm not on TikTok, so I cannot advise. I do not know if what you saw was really related to the feed industry.
Are you covered,
Over to you.
Milton?
Yes, I'm covered. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Barbarian Farmer, good evening.
Good evening, Table Shaker. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. I requested to speak because the concept that someone asked about black soldier fly is something that here in Kenya is we are really pursuing it seriously because when you do black soldier fly farming, the maggots themselves or the larvae give you up to 50% protein content, which is even higher than soya. And then I had a comment about the availability of it. Where we are currently, we are trying to look at a possibility of producing the black soldier fly using blood, animal blood from the slaughterhouses. That would mean all the blood that is all normally going into the drains will be used to produce the black soldier fly, which in turn are again transferred into poultry feeds or sold off to farmers as a crude protein source. So yes, the availability is also more of you looking at what you want to produce it with. But there's a farmer I visited here in Kenya that was actually doing capacities of up to 50 to 60 kgs of black soldier fly production per week. And this he was doing using his pig droppings and poultry droppings. And surprisingly, he was having too much protein content or too much protein source that was even higher than his farm needs. So that is what I wanted to put in there.
Yeah, you guys are really ahead in Kenya with this poultry industry. You
Amanda,
must
Funny
provide
thing
a
is,
room for me. I want to visit.
you can join Norma. Norma is to come here in July.
Wow, Norma, so you're doing things behind my back. All right, it's fine. But Sandile had requested a long time ago. You can shoot but cishe ngathi abut. Yo, okay, it kicked him out again. Um okay. Doc, you wanted to say something to Barbarian Farmer?
Yes, in some countries, they do not accept or the importation of a product which has an animal byproduct. You see, animal byproduct in most cases is it constitute a danger in terms of germs, contamination. So that can be an issue in some area when one is using, let's say, blood.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There was
Yeah.
um what's this show that plays on Sunday? Carte Blanche, whereby they were talking about the flies that are at a particular farm, and it caused the whole scene. So yeah, that could be an issue with the Department of Health and getting approvals, since we need approvals for everything in our country. By Black, I don't know if you are still with us, my brother. You can shoot your next question. Guys, the floor is open for questions. I didn't say, but I just started getting requests, and I just started giving the mic. So if you guys have questions for the doctor, you can shoot. Otherwise, if you're all out of questions, then it means my job is done.
Before you close off, Table Shaker, I wanted to answer to the concern that some animal byproducts can be carrying germs. The sole reason why the black soldier fly exploited is because of the capability of its digestive system to break down even microorganisms that may be potentially causing harm or transferring pathogens or any such sort of things to any other animal. So the contents of the secretions in their digestive system kind of break down almost everything and make it conducive for some, I don't know how to term them, but let me call them germs or something to survive and be transferred to the end user of that larvae. So there's an organization in Kenya called ICIPE. I don't know if it's also in South Africa. It's called ICIPE, and they have done some extensive research on it. And the safety of using black soldier flies actually has been approved. And that is why we also considered using the blood from the slaughterhouses.
Wow. Okay, that is some information. And how are the black soldier flies caught actually? To Are they caught dried out like masonja before they can be used to produce the feed?
You wouldn't say they are caught per se, because normally there are organizations that started this, that had initially trapped the flies and caged them in nets, and then they started producing larvae in large scale. So here in Kenya, there are people, there are organizations, and then there are farmers who are doing it independently, and they are able to sell you them. And then you don't need to catch the flies to feed the animals. It's simply the maggots that are just produced from the eggs that the flies lay that are fed to the animals. So it's more of a closed system. I can share with you, I'll tweet a system, a net, just after this conversation, that will show you what a black soldier fly net can look like, so that you contain them in one specific environment.
Okay, please do, and tag me so that I can retweet it. Before we lose Uputsandila again, can he just shoot his question? Hello, Put.
Yebo, unjani sisi?
Siyaphila kunjani?
No, I'm also good. First of all, I think one must thank the presentation by the dog. it was an eye-opening presentation. It's for the first time for me to join and have such a fruitful conversation. Uh, but it's not a question, because most of my question that I had, it has already been asked and answered. But it's just a comment, and to applaud to all of us who are into this space and who are thinking wide openly, because I think the issue of feed is very important, because for many years our focus has only been on the actual production of poultry or laying or layers, but we have ignored the space of feeding, which is the biggest contributor, if I may say, for
Okay, I think we lost him again. I'm gonna invite him to speak, and while we wait for him to get back, um, Kat, hello, good evening. Typical Scorpio.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
You don't know your own handle.
Nah, sorry about that. Can everybody hear me properly?
Yes, 100%.
All right, cool. I just wanted to make a note of the fact that when I buy my chicks, so there's a place, Superior Chicks. They do double A grade chicks, and I've this. I know this is a to the side of the point, but I just wanted to know how important are the chicks to. I know we're talking about feed here, but I mean, the guy keeps telling me that if I buy good his chicks, well, which are good chicks, and I buy bad feed, then I'll have wasted my time, right? So he suggests feeds made by some group called the VKB group, or Via Carbia, as he says, right? So my question is basically, how important is it how important is it to get these double A grade chicks, and also if the feed content or the protein content and the different kind of calcium content and all that is what is important. Why are some feeds better than others? Because it's still the same wheat, it's still the same soy, it's still the same, you know. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense.
Amanda, can I go on?
Yes, Doc, this is definitely your question.
Okay. So uh, I think my brother here want to say why we have different players, and then if we assume that the maize is unique, the maize is the whole maize is equal, and the soya is equal. There's nothing like equal in this game, my brother. The maize which is planted in Eastern Cape and the maize which is planted here in Gauteng is completely different. You can have a let's say a very close relationship in terms of protein content, but the those small variations, are the one which are causing a problem, So same with the soya. Last time I said soya need to be processed. With soya, you need to balance the temperature, you need to balance the pressure, you need to balance the timing, So if you do too much, you are burning your soya, and then you produce a Maillard reaction. Many of your, let's say, your protein content will be bounded and not digestible. And then when you do it too quick, you still have your trypsin inhibitors, which can create some other issues. Is one of the reasons in a modern feed mill, every batch of feed, it actually analyzed. Why is it analyzed? Because there is variation, and there is variation over time. There is variation related to the location, There is a variation related to the maturity, Some farmers, because the rain was kind of like coming back, so they harvest and then they dry it to avoid the type of, let's say, rotting, So the raw material will never be equal. Same with human being, we are not equal. Genetically, we are different. So same with the raw material. So coming to the price of one feed compared to the other, sometimes it's the branding, sometimes it's the location. You find always, if you look the biggest feed millers, you'll find that the way they position themselves is because they know, like, you see, in this area there is this amount of farmer, So if you need to bring, let's say, your feed from KwaZulu to Gauteng, you're already out based on the price. So you have that regional kind of like favor that one can enjoy at the expense of others. And another thing is also the branding, some companies have established themselves so well in such a way that, buying the feed comes with a certain prestige, and sometimes they might give you crap feed, it can happen, but they've built the brand so high in such a way that when you see it, you say, this is quality feed. It's just the branding. Amanda?
Yes, thank you so much, Doc. Actually, after our last week's space and a conversation that I had with a lady at the Department of Agriculture, I decided to switch my feed from feed A and I went to feed B. The feed B had more maize. Like, I could literally see the maize in their feed. It's 10 rands more expensive than the feed that I was buying previously. But I can see the maize. My chickens are actually full for longer. And my eggs have doubled literally 2 days after I changed the feed. The egg production has doubled, and the sizes in the eggs has also like become bigger than previously, and it's not hurting my eggs, so my chickens, so it's not messing up with the sexual, you said, what, where is my notebook, the sexual wara wara of the chicken. So the eggs are coming out nicely, but they are bigger. So based on, when they actually what's to Ngisha Gonch, when they are stingy with the maize in the feed, I can actually see the difference when I changed the feed. So yeah, that 10 rands extra is actually, sometimes we must just pay it to get the proper quality. Um typical
Can I ask one question before we go?
yes, you can.
Just so in terms of buy black people make their own feed. I'm speaking to a lady at the Department of Agriculture, ARC actually, and she was saying that a lot of farmers, especially black farmers in our country, you make this mistake of trying to replant maize and corn, things like that. But they do it
It's
with
very
their own
loud
seeds
where
and
you
don't buy
are. It's very, could you,
GMO seeds. Sorry.
I don't know. By Black, did you catch that? Because I couldn't hear him.
I was actually going to ask you that other speakers please mute their mics when they are not talking because I can't hear what he's saying either.
Okay, could you please repeat that, Abuti?
All right. So I was saying, in terms of making our own feed, as Black was saying, that making our own feed would be a great idea. But the issue that comes up is that, like I said, the lady at RSC said a lot of black farmers, even bigger ones than, or small farmers, but with big plots, try to reuse seeds and not buying properly GMO seeds, as she says. Says for you to ensure your success, you need properly GMO seeds, genetically modified ones. So what I'm saying is, wouldn't that also be a hindrance in also getting to a point where we're making our own feed, right? So because those seeds you have to get at certain seed banks, you don't just buy them anyway. You know what I mean? So wouldn't that also cause then an issue in terms of the quality, like we're saying, right? Everything has different quality, different, So wouldn't that be a problem for anybody who's
Doc, did you catch that
Uh,
question?
yes, I catch the question. When you are formulating, what we normally do is one, we define the requirement of the genetic material that we are dealing with. Two, we analyze each and every raw material. So if we realize that the quality of our maize is a little bit substandard, then it can be corrected. We are going. One of the technique is like the formula is going to pull more maize, more of that maize because it's of a substandard quality. So if you are dealing with a good quality maize, then the formula will pull less. That actually how the feed formulation is doing. So having a substandard maize at once, if you do your things right, the formula will rectify itself, meaning that it will have to bring something a little bit to correct it, and the quality will still remain the same. Then you go back again to the idea of like we need to analyze our raw material. The next comment that I want to make it regarding what we are having on the market. Let me say it again. What we are getting sometimes on the market is the end, let's say, production. By end of production, you mean that after those genetics line, father, mother, the day old chicks that you are getting is like that is the end of the line. So what you can only do is like you can only farm them. You have your bird, you put them in the market. You need new bird, you go back to the supply. Same with let's say with I'm sure you heard the story about the Nom Santo, with soya. So because they want to control the market, it's a business, and we are controlled in many aspects. So they will they are selling seed. What they want you to do is you plant that seed, you harvest, you sell it or you use it, but you do not replant those seeds. And for those who try to venture into replanting, they they launch some huge lawsuit against those people to make them bankrupt, so that they teach other people, a big lesson. So I must say, on one side we are controlled, but there's always a room, where one can venture between those, big guys, to make a living. Amanda, over to you.
Yeah, no, it's tough. Are you covered, my brother?
yeah, no, I'm okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks a lot for these spaces.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. Niza, and then after you get your response, by Black will go after you. Guys, I'm gonna need you to remember your names. I know it's not your real names, but I'm gonna need you, for the sake of the spaces, to please remember your names. Niza Wamupedi. Hello. Okay, I
Hello,
think he's gone.
hello. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
good evening. Yes, and thanks for the opportunity. Look, I'm just an ordinary. I'm busy trying to gather some information around on chicken farming. So I it's a pity I was in and out of the space, but I just want to check from the doc. Just a simple answer to a layman on the street like me for now. And I hope people are not going to laugh at me and say this is a simple question or an easy question to ask. When you start, you must not take things for granted so that you don't miss out on something. I want to check. My family has, we have a very big land, plowing fields, grazing field and stuff. I am looking into going into chicken farming. So I've heard even from ordinary people complaining, crying about the issue of feeds being expensive and stuff like that. So earlier on, I heard a little bit where they were talking about some of the challenges where some other stuff are not being made available in South Africa and stuff like that. So I just want to check, for me, will it be a good idea to think in that line of looking at opportunities of creating my own feed so that when I develop the business plan and everything, I start to factor in those programs into my whole business plan so that I'm not going to suffer a lot in terms of the feed. For now, I just need a general overview. I know there are a lot of technical issues. I've heard of the ingredients, the technical aspect that you need to look at, how you mix and all those kind of. Now I just need a general overview. And apology if this was already covered. I was just in and out, so I just want to find out on that one. Thanks.
Hi, Doc. Are you back?
My brother, you see, in this country, everything is doable. You know, you see, for big companies, what they do is like they want to deal with big volume. You know, then you find, after those big companies, there's some intermediate company who are buying from big companies and they're reselling down here. So uh what you need to do is like just to understand how the market is structured, who are the suppliers, and what is the requirement for the supplier. I'm sure for like for those who knows the accounting system, you have this SAP accounting system that many companies using, and I heard that, and just to issue an invoice in the platform, it will cost you something like 50 euros. So when you comes with a small quantity, somebody will look and say, the paperwork that we need to do of this small quantity, yeah, it's too much work, but based on that, they tend to put a certain level of minimum order requirement. My view is that in this country, everything is possible. Big guys are playing in a big league. The intermediate guys are playing in the intermediate league. We also have a league, a small league of like small holders, which also represent, a very good market, So anything is possible. You need just to kind of like do your research well to know who's who, where you are going to get what, and who's going to assist you, let's say, in terms of formulations, And as I said, there is no um, uh, things are not that difficult if you just pay attention, you know. I decided to import few stuff, and just to make the story short, when I was about to pay it, I was told that, hey, Baba, you need to have um, an import permit. And then somehow one of my colleague was having it, so I tried to talk to her, and then she was kind of like, one day she was okay, the next day she was kind of like avoiding me. Then I did my research. One day I pick up my phone, I found SARS, In a day I was able to kind of like apply it online using my SARS reference to have one, And then the lady told me the next day, please reapply for the export permit, you'll get it. So I have both of them, and the next few days I was able to kind of like
The way I was so scared thinking it's me again. Hey,
Yeah,
Doc.
so
No, it's not you.
so everything is possible, but one needs to kind of like do the homework very well. I'll give one example. There is few guys who have worked in the industry, and after they realize that they can make money out there, they just leave the company that they've been working. Now they become consultant, and they are busy consulting in South Africa, in Africa, and because they see opportunities. So um once one applies man very well, I think we can succeed in anything that we want to do. And my last comment on this is, Amanda, if you can allow me, if I can,
Yes, yes, Doc, go
I can
ahead.
consult, let's say, there's few suppliers that I've been in contact with, let's say on the macro pack side, if they can be able, if they do, um, they do sell, they they still do sell the small package, um, in South Africa. If yes, if they can, I do have the product information. If we can, if I can share the product information with other people, and through that channel, you guys can buy. Just you can just pick up the phone, you buy directly from them if it's doable.
That would be highly appreciated, Doc. I'm sure that a lot of people would appreciate that, like by Black, and I'm trying to get him back on. But yeah, his network is acting as well. Niza, are you covered with your question, my brother?
Yes, me ki sharpen we are. I'm just happy that is doable. It's time that we also work together as blacks to try and push this business, and where we find it difficult, as time goes, maybe in future as well, you can start to create even those database through this space like this where we meet, then we know this one deals with this, and then we start doing those connections and get better in life. Thanks.
Amen, my brother. That is a great verse to preach from. We appreciate it. By Black, your question, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I'm back. I just want to say to farmers like Mr. Nizer here, guys, there is a Telegram group and a WhatsApp group. Follow Osnorma and Table Shaker and myself. We share information free of charge. I call people on a daily basis with my airtime and help them start their poultry business. I've helped a few people. Some of them are now producing 15,000 chickens per cycle. They are now bigger than me. So information is readily available. Contact us, DM us, we'll give you information. I just want to address the issue by a gentleman whose name started by typical. I'm not sure what it goes by. Guys, in South Africa, there's a bigger problem that we are facing here is um, if you go and you want to produce your own feed, or even broiler farming as simple as it is, you're going to be discouraged because there are people who are eating, they don't want to share the pie. So you'll always come across information such that it's difficult, you can't produce your own feed, no, you can't do that. But Rana here, we are blessed because we don't know how Table Shaker got it right, but we have Udokotela in the space and he's sharing this information with us. So one thing we should take from here is that it is possible, it is doable. We need to look at the macro ingredients and get into crop farming and produce those crops which make up the macro ingredients. And then we will then go to a gentleman like Udokotela here and get them to come in as specialists, where they're going to come in with the knowledge on micro ingredients and how to blend them. But then again, we need to do the macro ingredients. We need to farm maize, we need to farm soya, we need to farm sunflower, we need to farm peanuts. And it will only make sense then. That is why I've previously suggested that you shouldn't go into it as a farmer alone and want to do everything on your own. Group yourselves as it is right now. I know Horaus Amanda is doing layers and I'm doing broilers, and I know another guy who's doing parent stock. I don't have to do those things myself. I can be a specialist in what I'm doing. In the same manner, One can be a specialist in growing sunflower, another one can be a specialist in maize, another one can be a specialist in another crop. And then we can bring these things together. And when we bring them together, we can pay for the services of udokotela and specialists in his field, and they can assist us and we can do this thing. It only looks difficult because everybody wants to do it on their own. It looks difficult because a person like me, I went out there and I bought the equipment. I had the capital to buy the equipment, but when I started looking for the ingredients, I met resistance. And I also advise that what you need to do, guys, get yourself white friends. My name is Buy Black Every Day. That is not a racial thing, it's an encouragement that people must also buy from us because they seem not to be buying from us. I have a lot of white friends who make these calls on my behalf. If I feel that a certain company doesn't want to talk to me because of my name and my surname, I send Derek DeVet. He calls and he gets all the information he wants because we joke about it and I get the information. So don't be emotional and don't be racial. We are here for a reason. We want to all grow. Another thing I want to mention, I know I'm not asking questions now, is that, guys, if you want to be successful as a farmer in South Africa, please stop trying to compete with Afrikaners. You can't compete with them. They have great wealth, generational wealth that we don't know. Some of us, we don't know where they get it from. So if you want to succeed in farming, even in feed production, look up north in Africa. Look at the Kenyans. Look at whatever is in recently the Ugandans. These guys are mixing their own feed. They're raising their own chickens well, and they don't have a problem. But if you come this side, Van der Merwe will tell you that it won't work, and you listen to him at your own peril. You shouldn't do that. Look at fellow Africans. Stop trying to compete with the Afrikaners. We are not at their levels. We might be in the same country, but we are not. And this is why the guys up north are doing well and they're doing so better than us. And we think that we are doing well. And what we don't know is that we are just a turkey which is flying on a tornado because we are backed by something that we don't know what it is. And someday when it dissipates, we'll come down falling and we will fall very hard. So we must be very careful of that and stop thinking we are up there. We are not. We must talk to our fellow Africans. We must get information from them. We must follow their humble methods and apply them, and we will be successful. I am doing that, and I believe that we can all do it. So don't be discouraged. Don't be told that this thing is difficult. You can't do that. You can't. We are here to tell you that it's possible and we can do it. The only reason why we are not doing it is because we don't have interest. It's not because we are incapable. We are capable to do anything that we want to do. Is within reach. And thank you very much, Amanda, for bringing Udokotela. Please keep bringing these professionals here. Let them encourage us, and then let's work towards this, guys. You've started in farming. You are a broiler farmer. You are a layer farmer. It opens ways to do other forms of farming. You have manure on your farm. You have that chicken dropping. You use it on your farm. You grow maize. You grow sunflower. You grow all these other things. You come together. You start producing in smaller packages, and you take it from there. That's it. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Abuti. We are losing Utokotela. He's a listener right now. I'm trying to get him back as a speaker. But in the everything that By Black has said, we have come to realize that the only way that we can make it as Black farmers is if we become a unit. United we stand, divided we perish. So we have started um, a stock fell. It's actually starting now, month end of January. Um, we are in the process of basically we are going to buy parent stock. We are going to produce our own feed. We are going to hatch our own eggs. We are going to sell our own day old chicks. We will have our own abattoirs, and all of that will happen because we are a unit. There is a number of us that have started doing this. We are contributing as little as 1,000 rands. So if Amanda eyedwa with her 1,000 rands, I will not get anyway, because that will only be 12,000 rands in a year. Now currently we're sitting at 25 people. With 25 people in a month, that is 25,000 rands. So mid-year already, we will have something that is tangible. We will come back, we will testify, and we will tell you guys that it started nge WhatsApp group. Okay, so it's all about unity. We are going to be able to do this when we are united. That's the only way. And yeah, basically, that's that, guys. We are not just preaching here in these spaces. We are trying to live by our words. Um, Munduna, you have a question, my brother.
I think for just keeping the space civil, just call me either Mutumba or just call me Headman of Cattle, because that's what the name means in my vernac. Just to help you guys, because I'm very sorry. I'm realizing many of you guys can't read my mother tongue. So, Table Shaker, you can just call me Mutumba. It's fine too. But no, okay.
I
What
will
what what I'm
forget
intrigued.
Mutumba. I will forget. Change your name. You have
How?
YouTube Nduna here. I will say YouTube Nduna. You call me Table Shaker, and I won't say call me something else.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. But
Yes.
that, but
Thank
okay,
you.
just to say it in English, then it means headman of cattle. So you can just call me that. I think that would help you a bit, because I'm sorry, I'm trying to force people to learn my vernacular, so they need to learn the words, just like how you guys in Mzanzi encourage us to learn your names and your words. But then, as I was saying, just quickly on your stock fell, I'm just a bit intrigued on that. You guys are trying to set up your own abattoir and so forth, which sounds brilliant. It does. So meaning that you guys are trying to take power away from the current, as Black said. Well, he mentioned that there is a clique that controls literally the chicken industry. It really just makes me, as I said prior, when we had the other one, we were talking about chicken breeding. For myself, a person outside South Africa, you guys look like you got it all on lock. You got the top chicken farmers, you got all this technologies, and you got very good media spaces, African Farming, Farmers Weekly, and Landpo, that write very good articles about South Africa. So I sit here in Namibia and I'm telling myself, and I tell my farmer friends here, guys, we are fighting a juggernaut. South Africa is huge. How will we even be able to compete? And when I'm in these spaces, hearing a leadership like Black speak of stuff like we are still trying to get ownership of stuff, it just makes me understand that it seems like we all face the same battle on the end of the day. And with you guys, at least you fight them there. They, if when they lose your market, they ship everything here in Namibia and Botswana. We end up buying all your products. So, and then coming back now to the doctor, Doc, there was something Black said, which was fish meal. I know animal products such as fish meal, we were using what also seal oil for feeding cattle and so for adding it to feeds to make certain syrup and adding molasses to it to create an energy feed for the livestock. I know that was banned. So now, as what was Barbaric Farmer was mentioning, that it's not allowed. I do understand that it was banned and it's not allowed to feed. You're not allowed to give an animal byproducts of another animal. But um, what was the rationale behind that, beside disease or germs and so forth? What was the main reason? Because in our country, it was quite interesting. Hearing Buy Black actually wants to buy fish meal. They completely outlawed it from us to buy that and also use seal oil. So, if I was to set up my own chicken feeding producers, I hope I'm not meandering now like a river. If I'm trying to produce my own chicken feeds, would I be banned in your country from using animal products? Or in South Africa, you guys are a bit friendly because here in Namibia, they've already stopped us even from using seal oil. So I just love to hear that, Doc. I hope I made sense.
Okay, the story with uh, animal byproduct in ruminant started.
Did we lose the dog?
You'll find that the level of amino acid in animal byproduct or animal protein is quite higher. So based on that, people tend to use more animal byproduct over the plant byproduct into different species. Now, because of the intense use in Europe, if you can remember, there was a disease which was linked. I think it was it's called a prion disease. You know, it a disease which kind of like make the cows to be a little bit mad. Like in French, they call it vache folle. You know, when that disease kicked in, and then they started analyzing the causes. Apparently, one of the causes was linked to the animal byproduct. That's how in Europe it was categorically banned, you know. And then when Europe start banning stuff, it start in few countries, and then it start moving around, until when it's going to reach us. A recent issue that we have at the moment is in Europe, the antibiotics for growth promotions are completely banned. You can only use antibiotics under a vet prescription and under control. So in South Africa, we still allowed, to use the antibiotics in the diet for diverse reason. And recently, there were some talks, not only in South Africa, even in Zambia, where they want to kind of like ban certain category of antibiotics. And the reason is that, some antibiotics has been used in human medication. So just to kind of like they want to limit the resistance, to antibiotics, because the human, you are using the antibiotics in the farms, you are getting in contact with them. Once you get sick, you go to the doctor, they give you the same one, but it's not acting. So based on that, they kind of like to uh, scientists want to be a little bit prudent, if we can put it in that way. So in many countries, animal byproducts are completely banned. Yeah, that's it. Amanda?
Yes. Norma, are you still there? I think Norma's network became a problem a bit. She had a question at some point. Okay, I don't know, guys. Do you guys have any more questions that you wanted to ask? Someone was asking me in the DMs to clarify what our stock fell is about. So our stock fell is a broiler stock fell for now. But I mean, it includes the whole chain because there is planting that will be required in the long term, especially when it comes to the feed production. So the first phase that we're starting with now is that we're raising funds to purchase parent stock. So the offer that we have is to to purchase the the broiler cob parent stock. So we're going to start with the parent stock, and from there we'll have fertile eggs. We'll be selling the fertile eggs, and we will be incubating some of the fertile eggs and selling day-old chicks. And in the while we're in that whole process, we also want to go into feed production. That's why we've been focusing so much on the production of feed. So we want to go into feed production. We are going to experiment with our own chicks in terms of the feed production to try and see if we're going to have a success. Well, we will have a success, but eventually, once, I mean, we have Dr. Allen, we have Professor Katarere. You guys, some of you guys missed him. He's a professor at TUT. They've produced feed already. So we'll go into feed production. We will go into slaughterhouses. We will go into having our own transportation in order to transport all that we produce. So basically it's a whole chain, but it's going to start with the parent stock. And our current project now that we're touching on is the parent stock that we would like to place before the end of this year, after winter, into the brooder, so that by 2023 we'll start having fertile eggs. So that is what our stockfile is about. That's what we are raising the funds for, and it's a long-term thing. Once you're in, you're in. You can't come and say you want your money back. If you do want your money back, you must bring someone who's gonna buy you out. They give you your money, the person continues in your place. Because if you come and you want your money, you are setting us back. And then I don't know if I'm not covering everything, but basically that's what it is about. We're trying to create a generational wealth of black owned poultry business. So basically, that is what we're doing. That is what the 1,000 rands per month is for. Our doctor is back. Um, Typical Abuti, typical Scorpio. I think the doctor is back. If you had a question for him.
No, my question was actually for you, and I'm very interested in this stock file, and I think I've spoken to Buy Black. Not I think I've spoken to Buy Black about it. Bit of the Ross Creole 8 and joins now and not. So I know you guys have been running, I think, for a couple of months. So if someone joins now, do you have to miss out on? How does that work? Sorry if I'm sidetracking everybody.
No, we actually just started. So our contributions are coming in now from end of January salaries or end of January sales, and all of that. So we're only starting now, and the contribution for Jan is actually a joining fee. So it's also equivalent to the contribution amount. So the joining fee is 1,000 rands as well. So basically, if you join now and you are able to pay the 1,000 rands now, you are basically on time.
All right.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I don't know. Norma, did you have a question for the dog? He's back.
Hi guys, I'm struggling a little bit, with the network, and I think this was actually, a question and a comment at the same time. Good evening, everyone. Um, Doc, I'm very interested in actually, like, picking up a conversation with regards to feed production. This is something that I've also been looking into greatly, just like Abu Tohang has. And Abu Tohang, I owe you a phone call because I'd like to find out exactly where do we get the equipment, and of course how we're going to come together to actually come up with the raw materials, to be able to speak like professionals like the dog. So it was actually more a comment, and just to say I'm actually proud to be in such spaces and be involved in such conversations where we are ultimately, doing what needs to be done to actually take control of the situation, as opposed to being emotional, like Abu Tuhang said, and is right, that we shouldn't be emotional. We should actually learn and just copy paste, like a Coke and Pepsi situation. But I will definitely be in touch. I mean, all the questions were touched, like everything regarding how do we start, what do we do, it's possible. So it's more like a comment that we should actually just dilute, like continue having these spaces, continue researching and finding out how do we actually do it. But more than anything is just doing it. And I think this stock file, Amanda, I'm actually proud to be part of, is that we're actually taking the first step. 1,000 rand at a time, guys. That's all it takes. And like you said, if there's 20 of us or 25 of us or 50 of us, that's 50,000 rand a month. And how much is that per year? So, and we can definitely get somewhere. Thank you so much for the space yet again. And I really am looking forward to the next topic.
Thanks, sis. Today you you were listening more than anything, and that's why I think you're coming back soaked so much in all of this, and you're just like, whoa, okay, I heard it all because of your network. It forced you to listen.
No, listening is a skill, guys. This was actually really good for me.
All right, guys. I don't know if we're all covered, and if we are, we have gone over our time. Um, I'm not seeing any more questions in the DMs. My DMs are open. Um, guys, follow Dr. Ellen. Follow him. He's very responsive, but don't overwhelm him as well. I think when you DM people and you're looking for information, just greet and shoot straight to the point. Don't say hi, wait for a hello back, because in most cases than not, you never get a hi back. So just say hi, daddy, 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 da, end your story, so that when the person comes and they read your message, they just respond. And most times, people that know me, people that I've interacted with, whenever I see that this is very complex, I'll say, send me your number and I call you, because it's not easy to do a back and forth. So yeah, guys, follow Dr. Allen. Hey, if you haven't, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know where your life is at, but you need to fetch it. Butsandile, you got cut off. um Before we close, you can have the floor, my brother. Butsandile. You see, this is the reason why we need only farmers to form part of the stokvel, because we're the only people that are patient on this earth. Like, we're so used to this. We know our network is crap. We're patient with one another. And nje, like, our space can go on because we'll wait for a person to be okay. Okay. So, Butandila, are you back? I see a reaction. Are you back? Ngathi kuyala. Dr. Ellen, any closing remarks? Thank you so much for coming to our space. We really appreciate you. We're probably gonna call you again.
Uh,
Just closing remarks, please.
on my side, it's a pleasure to share what I like the most. I'm very passionate when it comes to agriculture, from plants to animals, And for me, sharing my knowledge, it's a privilege, because I see myself as a privileged person. So to my African brothers and sisters, I won't mind, telling them what is correct, and if I can make an impact in Africa in that way, thanks to the Lord, and I'll keep doing it. Secondly, as I said, I'm going to consult the few companies that I know in terms of macro pack. I'm sure by next week I can get some type of feedback. But what I've got is they're open for even a bag. You can come and purchase a bag and use it on your own. And uh, so for me, anything is possible. People, I think we need to kind of learn to work with one another. And I spent 10 years in Stellenbosch. Don't ask me how I survive, but here I am, I survive. The thing is, what I've learned is um, white people, they can have a beef between themselves, but for the protection of what they want to protect, they'll sit together and pretend like everything is okay. So I think we need to to unite, regardless of sometimes of our beliefs. We need to unite so that together we can be strong. Opportunities are there, but because we are divided, because we are hiding information from one another, therefore we can excel, but we cannot excel like the way they excel. Because together they will put you know um, forces together, to let's say to have a feed mill, to control a certain religion, and you know because money unite them, even their enemies, they can work together. So that is, I think, something as black, uh, we need also to work hard, on it. On my side, sharing information, yeah, information are there. One last thing that I will advise is that there is many information also online. For instance, today, um, um, the few information that I've used was from the Ross Parent Stock Management Handbook. So, especially for you, Amanda, since you want to venture in parent stock, try to download the whole document, print it, read it, because you'll be dealing with expensive bird. The last information that I have on the parent stock, I think a chick will come around, let's say, 6 to 7 USD. So already it's too expensive. I understand the amount that you want to put forward to have them, and also the minimum requirement can also be an issue in a market like South Africa. So you need to be well prepared. So a lot of readings, a lot of preparations. As I said to some people, I know a gentleman in Amasras. Actually, I'm going to collect my mixer and conveyor on Monday. So the guy is doing a good job. You can visit him. It's also on Facebook. You can see the type of hammer mills that he's doing. So you can also advise. In you can, like, he showed me a layer unit feed that he made. So he know what he's doing, and that's why I use him. So information are there. Try to research a lot. I'm open always for discussion. Uh, if you catch me on the right moment, we can talk. We can talk. I can advise where I can. Yeah. So that basically. And you know where you can find me. I must say Twitter, I'm a little bit shy. I'm not. I just pick up my mind. Yeah, I enter Twitter just for the fun of it, and this is my second space, so somehow I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the next invitation. Thank you very much, Amanda.
Thank you so much, sir. I wanted Buy Black is being lost again. Norma, closing remarks while I try to add Buy Black.
Yeah, guys, I don't really have much to say besides what I've already said, that we should just continue having these spaces, like the doc said. You know, we should continue speaking. And Doc, I'd really like to know who that gentleman is in Hammanskraal, because Hammanskraal is literally 10 kilometers from where I live. I'd love to visit him and actually, pick his brain a little bit. So I will be in touch, to get his contacts and find out who he is. So it's actually very interesting how we always look for these things, but they're right under our noses, right? So, who would have known that there's someone that's actually doing something in line of what you're looking into or researching or thinking is impossible, and they're right here doing it. So, I mean, we should unite. That's something we shouldn't take lightly. And I think it's more apparent now more than ever. And I guess that's all I have to say for now. Good night, everyone.
All right. there's a gentleman that has been trying to speak, but his network is really messing him up, unfortunately. And by Black also got kicked out of the space. He did want to say something in closing. That's also another unfortunate event, technology fighting with us. But over and above it all, I just wanted to say thank you, to express my gratitude to each and every one of you guys that joined us in the space. And like Norma said, there is so much power in unity. Um, I believe this. No one is coming to save us as Black entrepreneurs, Black farmers. You know, back in the days, one farmer would be given a capability to feed a town. Um, they would be helped by government to be able to feed a whole town. And basically, the bit that our government is doing, we don't even, we're not even waiting for it because it's not enough, as much as they might be trying for some people. And even though there's just management issues in all of that, but we're not talking politics tonight. um, but basically, no one is coming to save us. We need to do what we can with the little that we have and make it go a long way. That is all that will save us or take us from where we are to bigger heights as our minds are imagining. So thank you so much, guys. Angazi, I'm gonna try to add Uputsandile for the last time and see if it's gonna work. But if it's not working, my brother, we will have another space. And I'm thinking the next space will be on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. But I will confirm out on the timeline. Search hashtag poultry spaces. That's where you guys will find it. I want to host poultry essay. Is it poultry essay? uh, I would like to know what exactly they're doing to try and block the dump chicken that is coming into South Africa. So I'm trying to get them to come through to the space. If that is not the case, then I'm going to have someone that is going to give us information as to how do we get market share while we're still trying to create our own market and build our own market. I've been seeing a lot of poultry farmers, especially broiler farmers, that go into the space and then come back and say, where do I take my chickens? I have chickens that are overgrown. I don't know where to take them. So that is a very big issue and a very big problem. So we are going to bring someone who's going to tell us how he got into getting a piece of the market, a fair piece, unlike what some of the things that are offered to us. All right, guys, from me to you with so much love. Good. Now, oh, now Putsandil. But take it away before we close.